So limits, understanding your limits. How do you know when you have reached your limit? Is it always easy? It isn't for me. There are often times when you're doing something like working out that you get short of breath and your body is trying to tell you something. You're telling you, I'm working hard, I'm working hard. The difference between feeling slightly out of breath and feeling like you're gonna have a heart attack is a pretty big difference. So that's what I like to translate it to. If you're learning a new skill and you feel like it's just a little bit hard to push to do it, I say push through and go for it. But if it's like somebody says you need to scale Mount Everest and you haven't worked out in 5 years, you know that is way beyond your limits. I'll give you a personal story about me and poison ivy. Yes, I know it sounds minor, but to me, I'm highly allergic to poison ivy. And I really know the boundaries in my yard. I love to garden. I want to try to clean things up, make things look nice. But there's an area in our yard where I know poison ivy exists, and there was stuff in there, and I was tired of looking at it, and I wanted it gone. So I put on my long pants, I put on my long tops, got my gloves, and sure enough, guess what I now have? Poison ivy. And the bad part is I've washed my clothes. It's probably on my gloves. So now all summer long, all spring and summer long, I'm probably going to get poison ivy. You see, if I just paid attention to where my limits were, clearly, Tricia, do not go where you know the poison ivy is, even though you can't see it now. I just needed to stay out of there. But I just couldn't stop myself. And that's what I mean. There are times when you know you have a limit and you have to stop yourself. So for me, my pain of itchiness is gonna last me for a little bit. I'm hopeful it's just a little bit over the next week or so and not a horrible summer of me suffering through poison ivy. Honestly, I once had to go to the emergency room. I had blisters so bad, but that's another story. The point is, I knew my limits. I didn't care about it. I didn't care about the consequences, and now I'm paying for it. If you are somebody that just can't stand something like that, for me, guess what I'm gonna do? Outsource that baby, because it is not worth the pain I'm gonna suffer just so that I can have a nicer looking yard. So what else is going on in your life? What other things are happening that you need to understand your limits? Health is obviously important, but sometimes it's work related. When you're trying to learn a new skill, understand it is not going to be easy for quite a while. Push through those difficult points if you just are a little bit uncomfortable. If you are really overwhelmed, then my advice is get some help. Ask somebody who already knows how to do it really well if they could spend 5 or 10 minutes with you to help explain it. It's not worth suffering through that horrible pain if it could be a little bit easier for you to get some help. Now, I'm not saying never try something on your own first, but again, know your limits. If it's just a little bit of a push to get through something, try to push through and make it happen. But if you feel like you need to climb Mount Everest and you haven't worked out in 5 years, definitely get some help.